It's just such a mid exercise. Now for a bodybuilder, this is bad. Yeah, weird. The bodybuilding space is ever evolving and there are new trends popping up all the time of new ways to do basically the same exercise, or maybe resurgences of old exercises, especially with platforms like TikTok that are bringing exercises basically from nothing to like huge followers in like days. And basically the crazier the exercise, the more people will see it faster. But today we'll be discussing 3 bodybuilding trends that are happening right now. That includes the Javelin Press, the Zottman Curl, and the ACL cross bracing buzz that is happening right now. But before we get into that, if you want free bodybuilding guides on things like dieting, hypertrophy, and also free workout programs, then you can go to oaffitness.com or link in description and get that free starter kit. As well as a little secret, I'm working on a sour pre-workout. So a new pre-workout coming to the market that is going to be super sour. If you want to follow that along and sign up with your email, get notified when we drop and any updates, then you can go to puckerfuel.com or also link in description and go check that out, go sign up. But besides that, let's get into the trends. So first of all, we have the Javelin Press, or also known as just the landmine shoulder press. It's basically the same as a dumbbell shoulder press, but you're not seated, and instead of dumbbells, you're using barbells. Yeah, weird. How to do the half kneeling Javelin Press. Set yourself in a half kneeling stance while holding a straight barbell over easy curl bar with the same hand and your front foot. Because of the instability caused by the barbell's long levers, you'll have to be much more cognizant of your wrist positioning, as the goal is to keep the bar parallel with the ground while pressing. As you can tell, fighting the barbell's instability is a recurring theme when it comes to the Javelin Press. In this case, the final challenge is maintaining control during the eccentric lowering phase of the press, which may cause the barbell to rotate awkwardly. So if you're trying to build muscle, you do not want your exercise to feel awkward. You want it to feel as controlled as possible. Something like the dumbbell shoulder, I know I keep going back to that, but something as like the dumbbell shoulder press, it's controlled movement. You're going through a controlled position as much as possible. If you want to go even more controlled than the dumbbell shoulder press, do something like machine shoulder presses, because in that, you are locked in the range of motion. There is no external variable besides you pushing with your shoulders up and down. This is not only uses your core, your stabilization, is also an awkward movement. So this is definitely a bad movement, I would say. Men's health. This old school muscle move will help you to strengthen your shoulder. Yeah, no. Yeah, they even stated themselves, the Javelin Press looks like a classic strongman move, but it will challenge your core more than you might expect to. Yes, it will challenge your core only. Most people's cores are much weaker than their shoulders as a set point. So your core will always be the limiting factor in this movement. It will train your shoulders to a certain amount. Not much, because you can see he's like barely even standing straight. I wouldn't even say at that point the military press is better than this. Military press will be better than this. Basically what this exercise does is, instead of isolating just training your shoulders, it now also uses your core and it uses stability to stabilize the movement. Now for a bodybuilder, this is bad. This is really bad because as a bodybuilder, you want to isolate certain muscles and then train only that. But this exercise is better for athletic people who want to just be overall athletic. Overall, javelin press is a nay. This one's not a great exercise. This is not a great trend. Next up, we have the Zottman Curl, and this is a old school bodybuilding curl that is kind of having a resurgence, and it's been having resurgences over time, a bunch of times. I even remember watching Rich Piana do this exercise and say that it's pretty good, but overall, it's such a mid exercise. Let's see how you actually do it.
To begin, first rotate your palms outward so that your palms are facing away from you. Next, begin a curl upward, keeping your elbows in place and upper arms stationary. Continue upward motion until the dumbbell reach shoulder level. Once you're at the top of the curl, rotate the dumbbells so that your palms are facing downward. Then, while keeping your elbows in and upper arms stationary, begin lowering the dumbbells downward until your arms are fully extended.
It's basically a curl. But then on the lowering part, instead of using your bicep, you're using your forearm. So as you can see right here, when he starts to curl upwards, he's going to use his biceps because that's the main function of the biceps. It's to, you know, do this movement right here. But then when you rotate your palm downwards, that's when your forearms take over. And at this point, your biceps will be utilized much less. So this exercise, it's okay if you want to train your biceps and your forearms. If you want to really train your biceps, just do the normal curl without rotating your hand. And even so, if you want to train your forearms and you want to train your biceps, just do 2 separate exercises for each of them. You don't have to. You don't have to do this one exercise that does both at the same time. But yeah, here on the lowering part, his extensors, forearm extensors will activate because he's trying to hold the weight on the eccentric part. And then again, biceps on the upper part. Also, you have to mention that the rotation, the wrist rotation, that's also your wrist, your forearms, and your bicep working. So that's a function of the bicep and the wrist, the forearm. So that also works your bicep and your forearm. But you're introducing so many variables that it's not useful. In bodybuilding, as a bodybuilder, you want to isolate one thing. You do not want to add in many variables. You just want to have an isolated movement that trains exactly what you want to train. And this right here, it's just all over the place. It's controversial. What I do want to say, this movement is controversial because you can see that some people may use it. Why not? It could work. But if you're a true bodybuilder, then you probably wouldn't be doing this. So why would this be a trend? Exactly why, because it's controversial. You know, some people saying that it works, some people saying that it doesn't work, and then it creates this trend. Overall, I would say that if you want to train your forearms and your biceps at the same time, I guess it's a yay. If you want to do this exercise for bodybuilding, then it's definitely a nay. And lastly, in the trends, we have the cross bracing buzz that is happening right now. So it's basically a new form of a protocol for ACL rehab.
All right, so get this. We're diving into like a totally new way to potentially heal ACL tears.
Without surgery?
Without surgery.
Yeah.
It's called the ACL cross bracing protocol, and it just might change the game for athletes and really anyone who's ever worried about knee injuries.
You know what's really fascinating about this is that this protocol developed by Dr. Merv Cross and Dr. Tom Cross at the Stadium Clinic in Australia.
Okay.
It's been around for almost a decade.
Really?
But we're only now seeing like some really incredible results coming out.
Basically, what's happening nowadays is that many people who injured their ACL, instead of doing a surgery, they rather do rehab. So surgeries are more invasive. Some people may not want that. That's why people are creating these protocols that you can follow along that are basically rehab exercises to kind of strengthen and rehab your ACL. So if you've had an ACL injury, for the first 4 weeks, your knee is locked in place, so it's just recovering. And then after this 4-week initial period, you start to introduce movements and ranges of motion to start kind of strengthening all the muscles around the tear again, and just, you know, strengthening your knee and your ACL again so that you can rehab and move again. It is super popular right now because of how many people don't want to do surgery. So if you've had and specifically this kind of protocol, I think many people can use. You don't even have to have your ACL torn or anything like that. You can have even just your knee tweaked a little bit. And basically what you do is you start off with small ranges of motion. You start to move the knee through those ranges of motion without pain. Try to minimize the pain. And as you keep moving it, as you keep strengthening the knee, you know, you increase the range of motion, and then maybe start to add on some weight and strengthen all the joints around it even more. So this is definitely a yay trend. I definitely support everyone who is trying to rehab any kind of injuries, not through surgery, but through gradual exercise. But there you go. Those are a couple of trends that are popping right now in the bodybuilding scene. Again, if you want free resources, free bodybuilding material, you can go to ofitness.com or link in description and get a free starter kit for your bodybuilding journey. And besides that, comment down below what other trends you think are popping right now, or what other trends are popular. And thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.